BionicDance is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Hello people on the internet. I am making this video in order to ask atheists a question. And the question that I want to ask is what you actually believe to be true about reality.
There are some problems with this. Atheism doesn't make claims about reality. It's just an absence of belief in any gods. Anything else added is extra and not required to be an atheist. Atheism isn't like a religion. It isn't supposed to answer those questions. Let's do this.
BionicDance's YouTube channel.
Greetings, fellow space travelers, BionicDance here. Today we've got ourselves a fellow whose subscriber count just hit double digits. But that's not going to stop me from addressing what is, I think, a huge problem with the theist mindset when it comes to this topic.
The reason that I want to ask this question is because I was thinking about atheism and what it actually is, and I think I realized that the reason why I and so many other Christians and theists of all stripes find so much difficulty in discussing things with atheists is that atheists are not actually presenting any claim of any kind about the universe, and so it's not really a two-way street of a discussion. It's just a criticism of whatever theistic belief that the person the atheist is talking to holds.
Well, what did you expect? If you're gonna go around saying, "Hey guys, did you hear about this magical being that did all this magical stuff?" We're gonna ask you for a little more than just your say-so. And if you hadn't brought it up, we wouldn't even be discussing it. But you did bring it up, and it's not our fault you decide to bake universal origins and stuff into your beliefs. But that doesn't mean that by rejecting your beliefs, we then have to replace them with something else. We don't have to make claims of our own. In fact, I think the most striking thing that separates atheists and theists is the willingness to say, "I don't know," when we don't know.
Admittedly, criticism of a belief can be helpful at times. However, it generally will tend to work best if it goes in a two-way street.
What you're asking for is not a two-way street. What you're asking for is to be let out of the hot seat, to not have to be the one always playing defense. What you're asking for is the opportunity to go on the attack. But in my experience, most atheists will approach any discussion about the validity of a religion more like a scientific study than a debate at a podium with a moderator and all that jazz. You put forward the hypothesis that God exists. You're being asked to defend that hypothesis by describing this God's nature and presenting evidence to defend your claims. And we are examining all of the above to assess its factuality. We don't have to present a better option or even an alternative option to show why what you've said is wrong. But this is something I see from theists all the time, this willingness to cling to their debunked beliefs in the face of lacking an alternative. Like I said, there's no willingness to say those three terrifying words, "I don't know."
But the point is, I would just like to know what you actually do believe about the real world. Where does it come from? Why is it here? Like, what do you actually believe about, I guess, questions of ultimate truth, ultimate questions?
Bitter pill this may be, but that's a separate discussion from whether a God is real. I don't have to have answers for you to be wrong. And if you are wrong, or if you're right for that matter, I think we should both want to know it. But when talking to theists, that rarely seems the case. It feels kind of like trying to get people to vote third party in a US election. They won't jump ship until victory is assured for the underdog. Theists tend to refuse to give up God belief, no matter how debunked it may be, until they have proof of the truth of an alternative. And let's talk about the word truth for a moment. I don't like to use it. It's too slippery, much like the word faith, with connotations and alternate meanings, and it's easily manipulated by sneaky, dishonest debaters who'll switch between those definitions when it suits their purposes. Instead, I prefer to use the word facts. What are the facts? Show me the data, the tangible, testable, investigatable substance. That's far better than any so-called truth you might bring up.
I would like to respectfully ask that any atheists who would say that they do not take any definitive positions on any ultimate questions, to please politely excuse yourself from discussions of ultimate questions.
Tough. I'm not here to make your life easier. I'm here to find out what's factual. And that doesn't require that I take a position at all. Maybe you find it frustrating, but the facts don't care about anybody's feelings. And neither do I. Get used to it, 'cause I'm here to stay.
Because absolutely anyone can say that none of the people who are actually part of that discussion are right. That doesn't actually advance the discussion. It's very easy. Everyone who is trying to have this discussion is trying to deconstruct the beliefs of others. So simply having a person whose entire part in the conversation is to deconstruct the beliefs of others is not actually helpful.
Of course they're being helpful. If you're trying to figure out if X is true, and the answer might be A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, and someone shows you that it's definitely not A, C, or F, they've just made finding the answer that much easier. And if your goal isn't to find out what's so, no matter where the facts might take you, then what is your goal? 'Cause it sounds to me like you want to argue just for the sake of arguing. But the price of admission to the debate table shouldn't have to be presenting a positive claim, not if the end goal is gaining knowledge, which is what it ought to be.
It's actually quite similar to science. Unless you're actually presenting a theory of your own, it doesn't matter how many other theories you're debunking. Because we're not actually advancing in our knowledge of the truth if all of we are doing is just saying that everyone is wrong. It's not helpful. It's counterproductive.
Do you have any idea how science works? Because finding mistakes in other people's work is like a huge, huge, huge part of it. They're not doing it specifically to tell someone they're wrong. They're doing it to see whether they're right by checking if they're wrong. And if they're wrong, the person putting forward the hypothesis has the opportunity to correct or revise it. Debunking what other people have claimed is one of the biggest parts of finding out what is factually so. And you just want to toss it out the window just because the person doing the error checking isn't also making a claim. You want to talk counterproductive? That is counterproductive. And, frankly, childish. It sounds like you're screaming that it's not fair because you never get to be it in this little game.
So I am just curious what you would actually put forward as positive truth claims on ultimate questions, how you came to those positions, and why you hold them to be true.
Translation, you want to change the subject because you might have to confront the fact that your position isn't as solid as you'd like and it's making you uncomfortable. But while your religion may inherently deal with these so-called ultimate questions, atheism is not only not a religion, it's not only not like a religion, but it doesn't even ask any questions at all. Atheism is just the state of not being a theist. You can't cram not believing in God into the same box as having doctrine, dogma, religion, faith, ritual, etc. It just doesn't fit. And as I said, most atheists are willing to say that they don't know the answers. And let's go find them out. Most atheists won't claim to know those answers when they don't have the facts. Did the universe start from a singularity, or was it some wacky quantum gymnastics that jump-started the Big Bang, or some third option we haven't discovered yet? I don't know, and arguments can be made for any of the above. We just don't know. Yet. What we do know is that the account told in Genesis doesn't fit what we see in reality. We know that your religion is wrong. And we don't have to know what's right to say that and make a legitimate point. Demanding atheists present claims or we're not allowed to show yours or a steaming meadow muffin is, frankly, a steaming meadow muffin. It's not our fault if you don't get to say the words "prove it" like we do. Maybe if you weren't spouting poo, we wouldn't have to point out that it stinks. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. This is the part where the bloopers normally go, and there were a few, but they weren't amusing, and I wasn't going to deliberately ham them up. So instead, I'd just like to say to everyone, stay safe in these weird, dangerous times. I've been pretty lucky so far, relatively speaking. No friends or any celebrities I adore have died of the plague. I did lose the last of my grandparents to COVID-19, but we weren't close and she was already not long for this world as it was. If that's the worst that I personally suffer, I can't complain too much. Others aren't doing so well, and I know most of you are smart enough to stay safe. Keep doing that, 'cause I'd hate to lose you. So remember, if you die, I'll kill ya. Later, gang. Have fun, and remember, if you can't be good, don't get caught.
Hey, this is a nice computer you got over here. Be a shame you didn't subscribe to BionicDance. I'd hate for something bad to happen to it.